Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into something maybe a bit overlooked in the Ruby world,
Yeah? What's that?
the standard library gems. You know, those tools you already have right there in Ruby.
Ah, right. Not the big external ones like Rails or Sidekiq everyone talks about.
Exactly. We often reach for those, but Ruby itself comes packed with, well, a kind of treasure trove.
It really does. These standard library gems, they're essentially modules, classes, stuff that's pre-installed.
Meaning no gem install needed?
None at all. They're just there,
Well,
ready to go.
okay, so if they're already there, why don't we always use them first? Is it just awareness or the pull of the bigger ecosystem?
I think that's a big part of it, yeah.
Yeah.
The Ruby ecosystem is huge, right? So it's easy to just look outside.
Makes sense.
But there's also this shift that happened. Starting around Ruby 2.5, they started calling many of them default gems.
Default gems. Okay, sounds like a small change in terminology. Does it matter much?
Oh, it actually matters quite a bit. The key thing is independent updates.
Independent updates, how does that work?
Well, before, these libraries were kind of locked to Ruby's own release cycle. You updated Ruby, you updated them.
Uh-huh.
Now, as default gems, they can be updated separately, like between Ruby versions.
Oh, I see. So they can get fixes or improvements faster without waiting for a whole new Ruby release.
Exactly. So they're not just static tools sitting there. They're evolving, sometimes faster than Ruby itself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a pretty big deal we might be missing.
Yeah, that is a great point. So living tools, not dusty relics. What sort of things can they actually do, though? What's in the box?
Oh, quite a range. Things like networking, making web requests, hitting APIs.
Okay, basic HTTP stuff.
Yep. And parsing data formats. Think JSON, which is everywhere, or CSV for spreadsheet type data.
Right, common tasks. Yeah.
Definitely. Then there's stuff like managing unique collections efficiently, cryptographic hashing for, password security and things,
Bashing, important.
and file system operations, working with files and directories, even parsing command line options when you run a script.
Wow, okay, that's pretty comprehensive.
It really is a very versatile set.
All right, so the mission for this deep dive is pretty clear then. We want to really understand why these built-in tools matter for, well, for you listening if you work with Ruby.
Yeah.
So let's get right into that. Why should you care? What are the real concrete advantages here?
Okay, number one, I'd say, is less dependency bloat. Simple as that.
Meaning fewer external gems in your project.
Exactly. Using what's built in means you don't have to pull in as much from outside.
And fewer dependencies. That's generally good for project's health, right? Less complexity.
Absolutely. And critically, it means better security.
How so?
Well, fewer external gems mean a smaller attack surface.
Yeah.
Every dependency you add is another potential door for vulnerabilities.
Right. Another piece of code you didn't write, maintained by someone else.
Precisely. So minimizing that helps harden your application. It's a proactive security step.
That's huge. Security is always top of mind. What else? Any other upsides to fewer external gems?
Stability is another big one.
Stability.
Yeah, the standard library gems are maintained right alongside Ruby itself.
Mm-hmm.
They're tested as part of the core process.
Ah, so they benefit from Ruby's own rigorous testing and release cycle.
Correct. They tend to be very reliable, very well vetted compared to, maybe some random gem you found on GitHub.
Less likely to have breaking changes pop up unexpectedly or be abandoned. Makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I know one pain point for developers can be slow startup times for their apps. Does this help there too?
It definitely can, yeah. Every gem you add needs to be loaded when your application boots.
Right. Require this, require that.
Exactly. Fewer gems means less loading, which can mean faster boot times. Might not always be dramatic, but especially for bigger apps or things like serverless functions where cold starts hurt.
It can make a real difference. Yeah, I can see that.
So yeah, performance, security, it all ties together.
Okay, so let me just summarize that. If you get familiar with the standard library, you're looking at potentially leaner apps, safer apps, more stable apps, and maybe even faster apps.
That's a pretty good summary, yeah.
That feels like a really strong case for paying attention.
It is. Knowing this stuff isn't just about, saving a gem install command. It makes you a more effective Ruby developer, full stop.
All right, let's get specific then. Give us some examples. What are some of these must-know standard library gems, the essentials?
Okay, let's start with data. If you're dealing with JSON, maybe from an API.
Which is pretty much all the time in web dev.
Right, the JSON gem is built in, parses JSON text into Ruby objects, turns Ruby objects back into JSON. Super straightforward.
Nice. No need for an external JSON parser. What about CSV? Like for data import-export?
Same deal, the CSV gem. Really solid for reading and writing CSV files, handling headers, different delimiters, all that stuff.
Okay, two very common data formats covered right there. Good start. What about talking to the outside world, making web requests?
For that, you've got NethTTP. It's Ruby's built-in HTTP client.
So I can use that to call APIs directly without needing, say, Faraday or HTTP.
Yep. For simpler requests, it's often totally sufficient. You can grab data from a URL with just a couple of lines, like net.http.get URI some-api.com/Lagreda. Okay.
That is handy for quick scripts or simple API calls. Powerful. What about security tasks, like you mentioned hashing?
Yeah. Right. For cryptographic hashing, crucial for things like password storage,
Yep.
converting passwords into gibberish. Basically, there's the digest gem.
Digest, got it. Does it support different algorithms?
Oh, yeah. SHA-1, SHA-256, MD5. The common ones are there.
Good. And you mentioned managing unique items.
Yeah, if you need a collection where everything is unique and you don't care about the order, the set gem gives you a set data structure.
Yeah.
Very efficient for checking membership, finding unions, intersections.
Like mathematical sets, useful for certain kinds of data processing.
Exactly.
Okay, what about just general utilities, things we do day to day?
Well, logging is a big one, right?
Yeah.
Keeping track of what your application is doing.
Definitely.
Or-
Crucial for debugging.
The logger gem provides a standard way to create logs. Different levels, formatting, output destinations. It's all there.
Standardized logging, built in, nice. And file stuff, moving files, copying them.
Fleet utils gives you higher level commands for file operations. Think CP, MV, RMB, but platform independent, right within Ruby.
Oh, that's much nicer than trying to shell out or use the lower level file methods sometimes.
Yeah, it's quite convenient.
This is already a great list, very practical. What about scripts we run from the terminal? Command line tools.
Oh, yes. If you need to parse options, like verbose or file output.txt,
Yeah, making your script configurable.
the op parse gem is surprisingly good. It helps you define the options your script accepts and parses the arguments users provide. Makes building CLIs much easier.
Op parse. Okay, I've seen that one used. Seems powerful. Any others for just like organizing data inside your code? Quick structures?
There's Ostruct, OpenStruct. It lets you create simple objects with arbitrary attributes on the fly without defining a formal class.
Oh, like a quick little data holder.
Yeah. Exactly. Handy for simple cases. And last one, maybe for this list, YAML.
YAML for configuration files, usually.
Yep. Reading and writing YAML documents. Very common in Ruby projects, so having built-in support is essential.
Wow. Okay, that's a seriously useful set of tools. JSON, CSV, and FTTP, digest set, logger, filutils, opparse, ostruct, YAML.
And like you said earlier, that's really just scratching the surface. It's just the tip of the iceberg.
Right. So if listeners are thinking, okay, I need to know more about this, what's the next step? How can they explore this themselves?
Easiest first step, pop open your terminal
Okay.
and just type gemlist default.
Gemlist default, what does that do?
It'll show you every single default gem that came installed with your current Ruby version. Just seeing the list can be eye-opening.
That's a fantastic practical tip. See what you've already got and then to learn how to use them.
The official Ruby documentation is your best friend. Seriously.
The Ruby Docs website.
Yep. Ruby-doc.org. They have a whole section specifically for the standard library, stlib. It's got details, examples, everything you need for each gem.
Excellent. So the info is right there, readily available. Okay, let's try and wrap this up. What's the core message, the main thing you want people to take away about Ruby's standard library?
I think it's that understanding and actually using these built-in tools can genuinely lead to better code. Cleaner, faster, more secure, more robust.
Right, less reliance on external stuff for common problems.
Exactly. You've got a surprising amount of power available right out of the box.
It really does sound like that Swiss Army knife analogy fits perfectly. It's already in your pocket. You just need to know which blade or tool to open.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
So the challenge maybe is to pause before reaching for an external gem.
Yes. Next time you need JSON parsing, or an HTTP client, or password hashing, or command line options,
Yeah.
just stop for a second. Ask yourself, does Ruby already do this?
Check the standard library first.
Check the standard library first. You might be surprised how often the answer is yes.
That is really solid advice. Changes how you might approach building things in Ruby. Okay, so on that note, maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to chew on. What other powerful tools might be hiding in plain sight in the technologies you use every single day? Not just Ruby, but anything.
Ah, yeah. That's a good one.
It's easy to overlook the fundamentals, isn't it? Always worth revisiting what's already there. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.